Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. Joining me today, you know him, you love him. It's Samson Folk. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good.
Your
Hanging
name,
in.
your name key on the YouTube here said Samson Woke, and then you took it down as we started to. Maybe
No,
not as we started to record, but it said Samson Woke, and then you were like, "Whoop, never mind.
no.
You're not woke anymore. What's going on?"
You're just lying, first of all, acting as if I've taken it away. And you're caught in it because my name has been Samson Woke on the podcast I've done with Caitlin and on the most recent episode of the Pulp Tray podcast. So I'm woke to.
So you've been woke all week, is what you're saying.
I've been woke my whole life. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of it being used as a pejorative. Somebody, he's woke. I don't care. I'm woke.
All right.
It's not a pejorative to me. It's good to be woke. I know where that word comes from. It's a good thing. Okay.
Well, I'm sure we've just lost like half our listeners now.
Hit the showers.
No, nobody. I feel like I cultivate good people.
Sure.
A nice audience,
I hope so.
I think I do. The comments are generally positive, which I appreciate.
Big shout out to the Buckets and Tea commenters.
Yeah. All right. We're in the thick of NBA playoffs. I haven't had a chance to talk to you in a while. You've been very busy. Every time I messaged you for months, it was like, oh,
for months.
I'm too busy. Oh, I'm never free on a Thursday. Oh, but now the Raptors are done. You ran out of excuses.
I think once, it was just once I was like, oh, I'm not able to do it.
No.
No? It was more. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, I'm available.
No, I think you and Esfandier were both telling me you weren't available at the same time, and I was like, that's it. There's a conspiracy against my show.
I do not coordinate with him whatsoever. He is the executive producer of my podcast, and I haven't spoken to him about it in 3 months. Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There you go.
And you haven't spoken to him in 3 months? That's not real.
And you and I
aren't you two like besties?
No. If he's listening to this,
you are.
No. So anyway, I'm here to talk basketball with you. I know you don't want. I know you're trying to see how long it can go, but we're here to talk basketball.
Listen, like I remember a few months ago somebody commented and they're like, "Wow, we got into basketball in the first 5 minutes of this podcast." But I think people enjoy a little banter off the top. I might take it a little too far. I am.
Yeah.
In a good way.
I'm not a person like, yes, well, any personality is good. If you have enough of the like cachet to be a personality podcaster, that's great. Myself, everyone's like, break something down. Enough with the stupid jokes, like. So I am chained to my analysis.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have
you're
cachet,
free as a bird.
though.
You're free as a bird. You
I
can
am
talk about whatever you want.
I can.
Exactly.
But I don't think I have cachet.
Why not?
You think I have cachet?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, I don't know. News to me.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, let's jump into some playoff talk. I really, some series have been amazing and some are just not even worth our time. Let's be real. In this first round, like there's just some that it's like, okay, everybody's just like, we can't wait for this to be over. And we kind of knew that from the jump, but there are some that are absolutely riveting that I do want to talk about. And the first one is the Clippers and the Nuggets. This has been one of the most exciting first round series that I can remember. Honestly, it is so like, a lot of talk has been about the physicality of this year's playoffs, but beyond that, it's like these teams are so evenly matched at that 4 or 5 spot. They have identical regular season records. The Nuggets, I guess they had the tiebreaker, but now we have Kawhi looking as good as he has since 2019, which is phenomenal. We've got Norm Powell playing, at an all-star level. And despite, quote unquote, losing Paul George, which this time a year ago we all thought would have been a very big deal,
Mhm.
they have found a way to be the quote unquote like promise that they wanted to be 5 years ago. So I want to know, like, what do you think of this series? Do you think we can see the Clippers in the second round? Do you think it's going to be the Nuggets? I personally think this whole series is going to come down to the last possession of a game 7. But where are you at with all this?
I feel very similar to you. I think that it is going to be like a very tight, very close series. As far as the Clippers being able to win 50 games again and just generally be quite impressive. Paul George was a player who I think, and one of my favorite players I've ever watched, but a player who was propped up by teams because of his, let's say, cachet. He still had to get a certain amount of shots. He still had to get a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of the ball, and that meant you got some stats. Whereas James Harden, for some reason, became a player who didn't have as much cachet. He made less of himself to fit next to the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid. He made less of himself to fit next to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. He made less of himself to fit next to Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And so what was sitting there was a bunch of possessions that could just slide from Paul to James. And James had a huge jump in points per game this
Mhm.
season. James has also in the in the process of adapting to so many different stars, has become even more malleable, while not at quite at the level of being like a 36 point per game MVP, but he's very malleable. He goes to the mid range more often. He's more impervious to different types of defensive counterpunching, and he's been fantastic. Kawhi being healthy is obviously, as you said, this is some of the best basketball we've seen. What he shoot like? He only missed like 2 shots the whole game the other game, or 1
Yeah, it was
shot. It's
crazy, and he had,
incredible.
like, 38 points.
Exactly. It's remarkable. And Norman Powell also, who, as Raptors fans know, have known, can score the hell out of the basketball and has been one of the more professional non-all-star scorers over the past 7 years of NBA basketball. Just really great. And Ty Lue can coach a hell of a defensive basketball team. All those things coalesce into the Clippers being like a damn good team and a pretty good team to give like the Nuggets who want to play drop defense, the Nuggets who want to kind of like keep Jokic out of actions and save him for offense, and the Nuggets who are working through, middling returns with Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr., all that stuff lands right at the same time in a very competitive series where you have one of the best players in the world in Nikola Jokic and a guy who's kind of in Kawhi trying to return to that form for short bursts at a time. And same with Harden. And those guys can alternate. It's been awesome. Really fun series.
Yeah, I completely agree. Also, I don't have too much to say about Zubats other than the fact that,
He's
like,
good.
he's getting a lot of defensive player of the year recognition, which, after the Wemby injury, that award kind of became a bit more wide open, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that, like, he's taken a leap forward this year as well. And I think, like, with him in that center position, he gets like a double-double,
Hmm.
right? Like, almost every game. So, I feel like this Clippers team is better than I thought, better than a lot of people thought. I think they really flew under the radar all season, and I part of me, and this is just me and my feelings,
Hmm.
I'm rooting for the Nuggets,
Okay.
but I'm losing my confidence in this team, and it's because they have a Russell Westbrook problem.
Oh
Now
no.
Now, hear me out. I actually like Westbrook.
Good.
I do, and I think, like, I'm kinda here for the Westbrook revenge series against the Clippers. Like, I like this. It's a storyline that I think a lot of people forgot about, and it's like, "Oh, yeah, this guy is out for revenge." And when you see him against James Harden, it's like, "Oh my god, those 2 have such a history going back to, like, high school or even elementary school or something." Like, they've known
Hmm.
each other their whole lives. It's so wild to me, and I feel like he has more good than bad, but I think there's, like, a bit of a sweet spot when it comes to maybe the amount of minutes he plays, where it's like if you need him to play, like, 35 plus minutes, the plus minus is gonna come down.
Hmm. You know,
right? Like, that's sort of my working theory, where it's like, if you can get him like, if he's on the floor for, like, under 30 minutes, and you're getting your offense from Jamal Murray, from Michael Porter Jr., etcetera, then he can end the game with a better plus minus.
I think trying to like the thing with Russ was always like controlled chaos as he kind of was no longer the MVP level player. There was no longer like a triple double because he did it on the Wizards too, right? Like nobody really cared, but he averaged a triple double on the Wizards just because there's so much of the ball going to him. He is so all encompassing, and he plays all out. He
Yeah.
will leave no stone unturned. And he's kind of like the Murphy's Law player. You know, it's like anything that can happen will happen. There's the things that happen when Russell Westbrook is on ball can be, you know, scintillating or depressing, maybe. The baseline of his game, though, is he is like a very talented pocket passer out of the pick and roll. He can get Nikola Jokic the ball in his spots pretty well, especially for a minimum contract bench guard, because that's what Russ is now. And he's just I really like Russell Westbrook, the player and the experience, but I also really like Russell Westbrook, the man. And
Mhm.
also the Zubats. So he finished sixth because Mobley just won it. They just announced he won Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh,
But
cool.
Zubats came in sixth. That's pretty high. And yeah, it's good that you mentioned Zubats because I shouldn't have left him out because he's been massive.
It's all good.
Yeah, my apologies to Ivica.
I mean, do you feel like Westbrook can be a fundamental player on a playoff winning team? Because this has been the thing with him for years, right? Like, he hasn't been out of the first round in a really long time, probably since his OKC days. Oh, no, that's not true. Houston
Yeah,
bubble.
second round
Houston
against the
bubble, they
Lakers.
made it to the second round. But otherwise, he hasn't been out of the first round. And I feel like he's got this, like, I don't know, I wanna call it a stigma. Is that too harsh?
There's a stigma against
Yeah,
him.
there's a real stigma against him, and I feel like the raw talent is there, for sure, without question, but the
Mhm.
controlled chaos is just not consistently controlled.
I think I think he can play on a championship winning team, especially as a minimum salary guard, like the veteran minimum. I think if the Nuggets don't pull through and fall short, I think it's more so the result of Jamal and Michael Porter Jr. both being roughly like max level paid players and not really coming super close to giving the type of impact that we typically see from max level players. Because you can have a guy like Chris Middleton on a max contract and win a championship, but you need a guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo to give you like all the impact in the world, basically, so that those guys can get paid. Drew Holiday was on that team as well. Neither of those guys, Drew or Chris, were like the typical max style players,
Or
right?
typical, like, big 3 kind of combinations, yeah.
Exactly. But Giannis was so exceptional that it happened that year. And Jokic was so exceptional and Jamal, my
And Kevin
God,
Durant's feet are so big.
and Kevin Durant's feet are
Don't
just so
forget.
large that
Don't
he put them
forget.
on the line. And Jamal was so good on the run to the chip, but like
Yeah.
you could make the case that like Aaron Gordon is more impactful than Michael Porter Jr. and more impactful than Jamal in some games too. So it's just like if they fall
Yeah.
short, I think it's because they don't get the performances they need from those guys. But Russ, I think he is an agent of chaos, yes, but I think he is an agent of good for the Nuggets in particular. I'm comfortable with
You're
that positioning.
describing him like he's Batman,
Sure.
an agent of chaos, but for good, like a vigilante.
He is kind of, yeah, I think that fits.
Alright.
He is a vigilante actually because he operates outside the system. He does things on his own terms,
That's true.
you know?
That's true. Do you like his style? His
Yeah, I
outfit,
think
his
he dresses
fashion?
well. He's also like he's jacked, like he's super jacked, and he
Mhm.
dresses to that.
Yeah.
He knows he has
He
like
knows
a
he's jacked, yeah.
he knows he's jacked, which I mean, well done. And I
Yeah.
believe his chest, his pecs are affectionately referred to as the girls online. And so when he wears so when he wears something where his chest is open, which he often does,
Yeah.
someone will say Russ has the girls out. And so it's powerful stuff.
That is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said that whenever I show cleavage, which is pretty rare. But
you and Russ have the same
we have this in common.
Wow.
Yeah,
Are you starting to see why he's a vigilante? Just like you.
Just like me.
Exactly.
I wish I could interview him. I don't know if he likes being interviewed, but I think he'd like being interviewed by me.
Cross your fingers.
Right?
You interviewed the prime minister. You could interview Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean?
It's still the most random thing ever that I got to interview the prime minister.
Yeah. Well, S interviewed Jagmeet
I think a lot of the media was jealous. They were like, who are these people?
Yeah.
It was fun for us.
We hate the media.
Apparently, there was a House of Commons podcast that talked about us interviewing the prime minister, now former prime minister Trudeau, about interviewing him and how they are like trying to get him on different podcasts to seem like cool and like to appeal to younger people.
And so they said, we want Justin Trudeau to seem cool. We should set up a conversation with Cathryn Naiker.
Not that it worked, but
I like that the thought was there. Did you see did the polls go up or down after? I guess there was no polling at that time.
There was no polling.
Let's assume good.
Yeah, but they were so low.
They were low.
They were so
honestly
low.
you guys were doing him a favor at that point in time.
It's possible.
Yeah, because of all your cachet, and you risked it for Justin Trudeau.
Well done. I love a good callback. Yeah. Okay, yeah, most exciting series. Who are you rooting for? Because I think it's too close to actually predict. So who do you want to win?
Yeah, I didn't know going into the series, but when I watched it, immediately you can feel that internal pull. And when I watched it, the internal pull said Clippers. So I think I want the Clippers to win.
And why is that?
I'm a James Harden truther.
Oh,
I believe
okay.
I believe he's extremely underrated as a player in the history of the game. I think he gets far too much hate, and I really like watching James Harden play. And I really like Kawhi, and I really like Norm, and I really like a bunch of players on the Clippers. So very likable team.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Nuggets because I like the Nuggets. Like I love Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also like Westbrook, and I really want to see this revenge happen. But I also do like my feelings for Kawhi are maybe a bit more meh than others. I'm not sure. Like
ambivalent. Even?
Ambivalent, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I do love Norm, and I really am rooting for Norm. Okay, we should move on. I also want to talk about Bucks Pacers. This is one of the other like more exciting series that I want to get into, also including former Raptors. I kind of picked series that had former Raptors in it. Pascal Siakam, I've been saying this for a while, is the best player on the Pacers. I don't want to get into this whole like Tyrese Halliburton is like voted most overrated in the NBA. I just remembered that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Who's voting?
Players.
That's just crazy. Players. It just means like, hey, it's so high school. It's like, hey, we don't like you because you're popular or something. Like it's weird.
It's cannon fodder. It's like so much online, and obviously you've seen this as you see it as somebody who works in media, but you also see it as like a consumer of media, that like so much has changed from substance to cannon fodder. It's just like things to react to. There's nothing to chew on because
it's stupid.
By proxy of these polls, there is nothing to chew on.
If they were smarter, they would do that vote in the off season to keep people talking about the NBA. You don't need more right now.
Honestly,
you spread it out.
I think the offseason is like the strongest for the NBA because everyone is like transactions, draft transactions.
Yeah, but it would shake that up in a way that keeps it more, you know what I
Well,
mean?
maybe they'll just do it again. just,
In
just do
6
another
months
one.
from now, who's the
Yeah.
most overrated? Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pascal has been absolutely phenomenal in this series.
Mhm.
Um, People are already having conversations about the Bucks, like, where do they go from here? I mean, they haven't lost the series yet, but they're down 0-2 in the first round. They got Damian Lillard back, which a lot of people didn't think would happen,
Mhm.
because it would have been easy to kind of blame it on that, but he came back and they still lost, so it's like, is it time? Or, like, for the Bucks, like, if they lose this series to be like, "Okay, you gotta, fire Doc Rivers, do this, trade this person, trade that person." Is Giannis say, like, "That's it, I wanna leave," or are people just really over exaggerating right now?
Yeah. I have to say before this, if anyone is listening to this and is actually interested in like really in-depth coverage of Bucks Pacers, I do work with Caitlin Cooper at Basketball She Wrote. I'm a feminist. Uh, so and that was a joke. But Caitlin is the best basketball analyst in the world. And
That was
if
a joke, I'm not.
yeah, yeah. No,
I'm just here to humor
a
Catherine.
feminist? Absolutely not. Woke, but not a feminist. And so Caitlin is the best analyst in the world. And if you really like coverage of the Pacers, you could subscribe to her Patreon. Uh, I think if the Bucks lose this, particularly in like it might not be as resounding. Like the Bucks, in breaking down that series so far, there's things they can go to. They will have a counter punch at least once in this series, I think.
Mhm.
Uh,
I mean,
but
I definitely didn't think this was gonna be like a sweep going into it.
yeah, a sweep would be surprising to me still.
Mhm.
But the thing, they don't have a lot of tools at their disposal to shake up this roster more. And it kind of really depends on Giannis and his wherewithal, his patience, and his belief in the front office. Because the guy just re-signed, John Horst. Their GM just re-signed a deal.
Right.
So, and he's a championship
He couldn't he
GM.
couldn't he couldn't sign it fast enough.
Exactly. That's what they're saying, Catherine. They're saying he couldn't sign it fast enough. And it kind of depends on Giannis because if you're the Bucks and Giannis says, "I'm staying here," then you don't worry about it. Then you tinker and toy at the roster as best you can. But if Giannis applies that pressure and says, "You need to improve this team, otherwise I'd like to leave," which is reportedly what happened before they went and got Drew Holiday and then eventually won, uh, when Giannis signed his max contract with them, I don't know what ability they have to pivot.
If I recall correctly, he was putting that pressure on them again, which is what helped the Damian
Dame.
Lillard trade happen.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like, yes, to your point, they don't have a lot they can do because they've given away a lot of their draft picks and et cetera, et cetera.
No bullets in the chamber.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they could get for Damian Lillard at this point. They've traded away Chris Middleton, who was really on like the last leg of his career, it seemed like. Um, as it is. They probably do miss Drew Holiday, but like, do you think it's gonna be like a moment for the Bucks this offseason where it's like, do you think they're gonna run it back and blame injuries and this and that and just try to find other role players?
Uh,
Or do you think it'll be like a panic button situation? Because I
I
feel like more teams are hitting that panic button recently.
I think that they will end up running it back, but I think that there'll be stuff bubbling up throughout the summer and even during the season, I
And
suspect.
I think there's gonna be a lot of like American media
Mhm.
pressure put
Yes.
on this team. Like, it's gonna be like a regular talking point, which I think might be like exhausting for.
Every episode of the Bill Simmons podcast. What are they doing in Milwaukee? I don't really see it. That whole deal.
I'd love to be a guest on his podcast.
Bills?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Wouldn't
he's
you?
yeah, sure. He's the last bastion of, like, a certain type of coverage, I think, and he will be that last bastion for, like, years and years.
What do you mean of a certain type of coverage? What do you mean?
Like, he is not shock jock, but
No.
he has elements of it, and he is also, like, a little bit more, like, fanalist, but he has the cachet to kind of do whatever the hell. Like, I think there was a tweet I saw that was like, reading the book of basketball or
Mhm.
listening to the Bill Simmons podcast in, like, 2008, where they're like, Bill Simmons says that this player is like this show from 1988, and they're like, "Holy shit, you can do that? Like, you can make those types of comparisons?" It's true. Bill Simmons just started making
Yeah,
pop
he was the
culture
pioneer
comparisons.
of that. He's the pioneer of that.
Exactly, and he still has the cachet. He doesn't bend to any of the coverage whims. He isn't a cannon
No.
fodder guy. He didn't increase in it. He's just, like, singular. He's just Bill Simmons. He is a
But what do you mean by the last bastion of that? I don't I think he's actually created, like, a bunch of people like that. Like, I'm like that.
I
Wouldn't you say?
no,
I mean, I'm not a
no.
shock jock.
But that's the thing is Bill Simmons says truly insane things still, and he does not care. And he also doesn't like Bill Simmons talks about what he wants.
Well, all the listeners, you can let me know if I've said some insane things. I've
Well,
probably said some
actually, listeners,
non-basketball related.
listeners, I'll let you know she says insane things all the time. The record button is just not pressed.
What did I say though? It's insane.
I'm not gonna bring this to light.
What did I
I'm
say?
gonna leave it hanging for the listeners to
No, we
think
wanna
about.
know. We wanna know. What did I
No,
say? What's
I
an
couldn't
you don't have
possibly.
an example. That's the thing. You don't have one.
This is a strong response.
You
We'll
don't
see.
have a I didn't say anything crazy.
Okay. But anyway, Bill Simmons, I think, is quite unique. And even though he impacted certain things, I still think he is like that guy. So he's unique. But
I
that's
don't think I think there will be future people similar to him. Like, there's only one him, but there's gonna be, like, so many people, if not there are already, that are like what like you said, a fanalist.
but it's like the mix of all the who is like Bill Simmons currently, do you think?
That they're quote unquote "fanalists"?
Well, no, like there are like William Lou is a fanalist. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
But
there's a
he's
lot
not
but
but
there's a
he's not
lot
like
of
Bill
that
Simmons. Like Bill Simmons,
because
like
he infuses more pop culture.
yeah, certainly. He also like wrote a book. He also is like
Yeah, yeah.
his
Have you read his book, The Book of Basketball?
no.
You haven't? I've
I
read
don't
it.
I don't listen or read, like,
I've read it
basketball
twice,
stuff.
actually.
Why?
Well, I read it, like, years ago, like, kind of, like, maybe just after it came out, and then I read it again during the pandemic.
And yeah, really great, really fun?
It's a really good book. It is really fun.
Nice.
I do recommend it, actually. There is this, like there is a section in the beginning where he talks about, meeting Isaiah Thomas, in Las Vegas, and he had, like, written a bunch of, like, really terrible things about Isaiah Thomas in the past, so he was, like, afraid to meet him, and
Mhm.
he's, like, at this, like, Vegas hotel, and he's sitting poolside, and for reasons only because it was 2007, 2008 when he wrote it, he's describing the women poolside in a way you just would not do today.
This is why there won't be another this is why he's the last bastion.
But, like, the first time I read his book, like, I didn't even, like, really take note of that. Like, it's a funny
Mm.
story, so you remember the, like,
Well,
when
you're
he
not a
was afraid
feminist either,
well, stop. But I read it the second time, and I was like, "Holy shit, he did that."
Yeah, oh, there's his catalog of insane things is quite long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like I don't know. He's my one that I let get away with it until I hear about something.
The term is problematic fave, right?
Yeah, 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 he's a problematic fave.
He's
But
a
is he
good
but how
he's
problematic is he? He's not that
that's
problematic.
why he's a good one, because it's not that. It's just like, "Oh, whatever you said."
No, like, even, like, the whole, like, scandal like, we've really gone off topic here. Even, like,
What
the whole scandal where, like, he got fired from ESPN because of that remember the football player that, like, abused his girlfriend, and then there was video of it?
Ray Rice?
Yeah, and then TMZ ended up leaking it, This is like a whole scandal. So
Okay.
basically, Bill Simmons called out ESPN for trying to hide this video. And then that was partly why he got fired.
Oh, that's not problematic. That seems
He
good.
also was like, on the pod, he was kinda like baiting his bosses at the time, like, what are you gonna do? Like, and so people were kind of like, "Oh, it's because he baited them," but it's like, no, he was, like, exposing a truth, and I don't think he did it to be a feminist. I think he was doing it to be a journalist, like, to be, like, just to, like, stick up for what was actually truthful. But, yeah, I mean, I was, like, really riding with him then.
Oh, that's good then. That's not problematic at all. Yeah. Go Bill Simmons.
Listen,
Samson Stan.
listen, on the other hand, he's nonstop spending time with Ryan Russillo.
Ryan Russillo,
And
the
I'm convinced
story.
that Bill Simmons would have been Ryan Russillo had he never married or had children.
he
Like, I
Ryan
kinda
Ryan
think they're like the same person in parallel universes.
Ryan Russillo is like the ultimate divorced dad energy, despite not being a
Divorced
a dad or divorced. The story about him ending up naked in that room
is
is
wild.
is just like, whoa.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway,
And now he gives life advice with other men half his age, who I don't think are qualified.
maybe if I get a little bit bigger, like with the muscles, I keep my
You'll
head
start
bald.
giving life advice?
Well, I think this is also a problem with people. Is like people get a microphone and they self-stylize as gurus. What the hell is wrong with you? Why do you think that's you? Like, imagine having that lack of self-awareness. You're like, I'm about to start giving like a bunch of advice.
Yeah,
Are you nuts?
anyone can get a microphone.
And that's the truth, Catherine. It really is in our world.
Yeah. Well, if you ever wanna give life advice on this podcast,
I'm not a life advice guy. That's not my bag. I
not
wouldn't
even
presume.
not even with your friends?
If my friends ask me for advice, solicit advice,
Sure.
and give me all the context I can tell them, I can try and give them a neutral point of view.
Okay.
Is that
I'm looking at the score of the Knicks, Pistons game.
what is the score?
81-75. New York.
Who are you cheering for in that series?
3:44 left in the third. I mean, I'm a bit I like the Knicks team, but they've been a bit disappointing this year.
Mhm.
I do love OG, but I also just, like, love rooting for an underdog, so I am kinda rooting for the Pistons.
Pistons would be extremely fun. Also, I hate watching Jalen Brunson play basketball. I detest him.
Why?
He is he's not a flopper. I don't mind players who flop like when there is contact. However, I detest players who hunt contact the way that, in particular, Jalen Brunson and Austin Reeves do. Like they will abandon the game of basketball almost in pursuit of just trying to like jump into a guy's armpit. And it's just
Did
like, what the hell are we doing, man?
did you see LeBron flopping? The image that's gone viral / video of him, like, peeking? Like, him
Yeah,
covering his face and then peeking to see if anyone notices that he's flopping?
funny.
It's brutal, though. He can't escape that.
He was just like looking.
Yeah,
He
have
was
you not seen it?
no, I watched it. He was doing the
Yeah, yeah,
right,
yeah.
but but what's he looking for? Like he's
To
on the
see
ground and to see if anybody's
I
looking
don't
at
know.
him.
Yeah, like the ref or whatever. Can
The
he get up
stadium,
now?
the stadium of 20,000 people. Anybody got eyes on me right now? I Yeah, LeBron flops, certainly. He's got a couple Hall of Fame flops
Yeah,
in his history for
it
sure.
was pretty brutal. I wanted to ask you, okay, I do wanna, talk about Knicks Pistons, but
Okay.
there's one very important Raptors related thing that I gotta ask you about with Pacers Bucks,
Mhm.
and that is Pascal Siakam and Gary Trent Jr.
Yeah.
They've gone at it in this series, and it's like, do they have beef?
No, I think so what happened is they got mixed together, and it looked like Pascal was talking trash with Gary, But Pascal was talking trash to Dame because Dame and Tyrese were talking trash. And Pascal was saying, why is he talking? Because Dame wasn't playing in game one. But Gary was in the middle of all that. And then also Gary and Pascal had they grabbed the ball together and Gary fouled him and he went down. He got thrown down, right? And then Pascal got up really quick. But from the other camera angle, like Pascal wasn't even looking at Gary. He just like got up quick, was just like, all right.
So this is all just like a misunderstanding?
I think so. There are beefs in this series. Bobby Portis and Pascal Siakam, years-long beef between those two. Like
Really?
every single game go at one another for years. Just have always had beef, and Tyrese and Dame is very real as well.
Yeah, that looks very real because Dame doesn't like not not that he can't be fiery, but he's known for being, I would say, a bit more chill, no?
Yeah,
Like
and
cool, I
Tyrese
mean.
is a talker for sure.
Okay.
He talks in a lot of matchups.
So let's go back to Knicks, Pistons here.
Yeah.
I know I'm jumping all over the place.
Mhm.
Or you're following me though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm tuned into your personality podcast.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, thanks. Um, I'm rooting for the Pistons just for the sake of rooting for an underdog. I'm not like rooting for them in a way where like I'm really expecting them to come out on top. I did say last week that the series had like cold feet written all over it, at least for game one. And I think that was true to an extent. Like Kate Cunningham didn't have a great game one, but was able to bounce back in game two. Tobias Harris, out of all people, is having a series right now. And I feel like I underestimated him. I think a lot of people did. And then Dennis Schroeder has really come through for them as well.
Yeah.
In clutch moments. So I feel like they did a really good job getting that like, quote unquote veteran presence with their young guys, got some guys that were, a bit underrated, blah blah blah, and have formed like a really, really good team.
Yes, definitely. Tobias Harris, it was always just like he got a max contract and everybody was expecting a lot from him, but he was always just mostly like a very solid big wing. And he rubber banded in that, once he's off that max and once he's available, the Pistons are like, we see value there. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are kind of like, but they correctly saw value there. Like Tobias has been a very competent wing, just not max level. And so they went and got him, and that was good. And he'll do this for years still. I think 2 or 3 more. And Dennis is also very talented as well. It's just about like channeling that correctly because
I
Dennis is
cannot keep track of how many teams he's played on.
it's been a lot. So
I
Brooklyn,
it's like, why does this guy constantly get traded? Like, does nobody like him? Like, is he like the Rudy Gobert of guards? Like,
Dennis, I can say from his time in Toronto, Dennis is very much about Dennis. Dennis is, and it's not bad to be about yourself as an NBA player. It's your career. You get it
sure.
once. Dennis, the reason why he left Toronto so quickly and for basically nothing, right, is because Dennis was extremely upset at what happened because he was promised a starter spot and then that disappeared once the team pivoted to Emmanuel Quickly and after the OG Anunoby trade. And so Dennis was pissed about that. So Dennis went elsewhere. And Dennis, when he was on Brooklyn, expected a certain amount of cachet as well. There's the word again, the term. And he was quite good for Brooklyn in the role that he played. But once that changed, he's pissed. He's like, what the hell? Goes to Golden State, goes to Detroit. Suddenly there's room for him. And he clearly has respect for Cade as the lead guard. He's just a member of the, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, like triplet of off-ball guards next to Cade who are providing that stuff. He's always been talented, but probably his expectation of self has always been a step or two higher than what he's been able to provide output for. And then that's the story of Dennis Schroeder.
Self-grandeur is something that I assume all athletes have.
To
So
some degree, for
so
sure.
it's
Yeah.
like so he's having it on a level that is like beyond even most other athletes is what we're saying.
Uh, Of his level, yeah. I think
Yeah.
Dennis has the mindset of a star all NBA guard. And he treats himself as such, I think.
That's hilarious. And
Which
that's why the team traded him for nothing, because it wasn't like he was a free agent. Like, he was mid-season traded, had like a happy birthday cake decorated like the Raptors in Brooklyn. Like, he clearly wasn't expecting it.
yeah, he thought he was gonna be the star. Like, he thought it would go one way, but anyway, like, it's just
Like, he must, like, yes, he has the self-grandeur, but I'm like, he must be, like, annoying on a different level then.
well, I don't know enough to say that.
Sure.
I don't know enough to say that.
I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm
Oh,
saying personality Cathryn over here.
buckets and tea after dark, yes. We've got the gossip and the gab.
I wanna be able to do an after dark, version of this show, but I don't know if, like, it might get it's one of those things where, like, if it gets big, then, like, it'll cause problems.
You're sitting on a lot of stuff, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not. But I wanna bring people on who are, and they're not gonna give it up.
You want the expose.
Yeah. You know what would be amazing? I'll never do this, but it would be so amazing if I had a buckets and tea after dark and it was just like players, like former girlfriends and wives. I would have the best time.
That's so messy. That's
I would
terrible.
have the
That's
best
horrible. What do you oh
Listen, I'm
my
they can say whatever they want or not. I'm not pressuring them into anything.
that's terrible. Oh my god. That is just like, could you imagine like everybody's relationship?
Is
It's
it
like,
terrible? There was a Basketball Wives TV show.
yes, I think that's terrible.
I mean, it
I
was terrible in that it was bad. It wasn't, wasn't that entertaining.
yeah. Anyway, if that's what you want, I hope you get it.
It'd be fun. You know what? It'd be easier than this. It'd be easier than actually watching the games.
Well, players have kind of taken that under their own wing, right? Like Angel Reese does it a whole bunch. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they clickbait stuff. They're like, we're gonna talk about like the most gossipy stuff. And like also like the Jeff Teagues is like, I'm gonna say something insane. Paul George's podcast is it's actually like very informative, but it's a little bit salacious sometimes with what like stories players tell. I don't know, like Michael Porter Jr. has a podcast, right? And he talked about like fetish stuff that NBA players have. Like, it's just
Yeah, it was really
they're
weird.
they're just
That was real. See, I want to
anybody
comment
can
on
get a
that.
microphone.
I want to comment on that.
That's what you want to talk about.
Not only, I would still, buckets and tea has to exist so for buckets and tea after dark to exist. There's
You're
no,
holding the mug in the picture, but is
yeah.
the tea like tea, sis? Is it like gossip? Is that what the tea is for? 'Cause
Yes.
I ain't seen you drink tea once in my whole life.
I do drink tea. It's just
What
hard
kind?
when you're podcasting because I need water. I drink all kinds of tea.
Rank them. Top 3 best teas. Has anybody ever asked you this before on the Buckets and Tea
Well,
show?
first, but there's like caffeinated and then there's decaffeinated.
I don't care. Organize it how you want. It
So in
matters not.
caffeinated, I mean, there's chai, but I make my own chai from scratch, like in a pot, like with all my
Okay,
spices and then like loose leaf black tea kind of thing.
that's cool.
Yeah, it takes time, but it's like, oh, worth it. Um, then I'll do an English breakfast. I don't love Earl Grey, but I do love a London fog.
Okay.
So that's and then green tea. I do love matcha. I do love green tea. I like green tea with honey.
Yeah. Honey's
There we
great.
go. So that's how I've ranked the caffeinated teas that I can think of. Decaf. I go through phases of loving peppermint and then just getting sick of peppermint. I like a lavender chamomile. I do like a fruity tea, but I feel like all fruit teas kind of taste the same. except for like peach or something, but like all the berry teas, like they're kind of all the same. Um, yeah, I feel like that's enough of the tea talk.
Okay. I'm glad to have heard it.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, where are we at?
Is this
Pistons
Joe
next.
Mazulla?
Why is Joe Mazulla such a psycho? That's what I wrote to you as one of the topics. We got to talk about this. This podcast is already going long. I'm sorry, but we got to talk about this. Why is Joe Mazulla such a psychopath? Let me recap. So, Jason Tatum injures his wrist on a play. Okay, he did not play in game 2 due to this injury. And Joe Mazulla at the sidelines stops the medical staff from approaching him and screams at him to get up. This is psycho behavior, in my opinion. Then Kristaps Porzingis, game 2, right? Accidentally gets kind of like elbowed in the forehead, skin breaks, there's blood gushing everywhere. In the post game, he said he, quote, liked seeing him bleed.
So, Joe, I've had interactions.
Explain.
I've had interactions with Joe. Joe is a very unique man.
No kidding.
I think I've told a couple of the stories on this podcast before, since I am a frequent guest of the Buckets and Tea podcast, despite what these gossiping women will try and tell you. These gossips, they'll try and lie on me.
Yeah.
So Joe, I think, and not because these things come off as negative, but even for the unique things that he says that are seen as charming, because Boston people love Joe Mazulla for that edge. And so
they love him because he's psycho.
I'll qualify this by saying there are neurodivergent people in my immediate family. And being neurodivergent does not guarantee that you say stuff that Joe Mazulla says.
Like, I liked watching him bleed.
Yes. In my immediate family, that kind of stuff does not happen. It manifests differently. But Joe, to me, Joe Mazulla, to me, he strikes me as a neurodivergent man who isn't exactly interested in comporting himself for other people's perception. And that has a wide array of outcomes. That is my read on Joe Mazulla. Having spoken with him in person and viewing him from afar, he strikes me as that.
Yeah. Also, I'm not sure if he blinks.
He is kind of like a...
And if he does, like, he might blink, but not as much as the average human being. Like, this guy is not blinking. And it's just like, I agree with you. He absolutely seems like he's on a spectrum of sorts, but it's not just that.
He says
it's not just that. This guy is like I feel like he sleeps with his eyes open. You know what I mean? Because that's how men should sleep.
He has talked about how he sleeps before.
He is on a different level.
He does the nose thing. Or he tapes his mouth when he sleeps.
No, that's messed up. Why?
What the hell? I talked about this on podcasts with Trey, because people tape their mouth, so you breathe through your nose and it makes your jaw seem stronger or something like that. I don't know. It was like like the, how there's like this wave of like incel adjacent stuff where it's like,
see, this is more where I'm getting at here.
It wouldn't surprise me if like Joe was like had views that were adjacent, not to being an incel, but just kind of like that. There is a bunch of stuff for like young men or just men in general taking in like self-improvement talk that is very like right-wing coded. And like, this is being studied currently because they're like, why the hell are all the young, like all the Gen Z men, why are they so right-wing? It's because of messaging and media over the past however many years. So there's a lot of like fringe interests that have this stuff kind of like embedded in it. But I don't know. Joe seems like an odd guy to me. He says weird things, but I don't know what else. I just like he's an odd guy.
I mean, he's odd. I guess, like, I just don't find his very specific brand of odd to be particularly charming. I
That makes
find
sense.
it a bit like, I guess it's amusing because 'cause I'm so far removed
Sure.
from it, but it's like to tell like, see, nobody else is talking about this, but I feel like to tell your medical staff not to approach Jason Tatum when he has a legitimate injury is crazy to me.
I am not charmed by Joe Mazulla.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't I'm like, if I were a Boston Celtics fan, which I'm absolutely not, but if I were a Boston Celtics fan, I'd be like, "You can't n prevent" well, any player, but in particular, your star player from getting medical treatment. Now, those few seconds, would they have made a difference in the scenario? No, but it's just the principle of, like, you're gonna be a man, and I'm gonna scream at you to get up, and we're not gonna help you. Like, what?
Yeah, this stuff can be, like, interesting and nice for a while, but usually it runs a little thin at some point in time, but we'll see. He just won a championship as a coach, so he's kinda Teflon right now. We saw it with the Raptors, right? Like, Nick Nurse also was like a jackass, hard ass. No, and it didn't do it the same way that Joe does it, but Nick was hard on
Yeah,
players, and it wore thin after a time.
right. Which
Yeah.
apparently is why they're saying Mike Malone got fired.
Yep. Although he didn't seem as outwardly that as either Nick or especially Joe, but I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
because
know.
he was there for, like, a decade.
Managing players and, personalities and stuff like that is an underrated aspect of being a coach, I think, big time.
I
But
agree, and I actually think that is the thing that made Phil Jackson so special.
he talks about that a lot, yeah.
I mean, he wrote books about it. He wrote books about how he studied narcissism in order to learn how to communicate with players.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what, he just watched Draymond Green operate as a human being for years?
No, this is pre-Draymond Green.
No, it's a joke because Draymond
Oh.
Green is clearly a narcissist.
Yeah, and I think Steve Kerr has read those books or
Well, he was
gone
coached
to the
by Phil.
cottage in Montana and had a weekend weed sesh and learned a lot.
There's a guy at my climbing gym who looks exactly like Steve Kerr, and there's another guy who looks exactly like Troy Murphy.
Whoa. And do you
Mhm.
tell them that?
No.
You don't talk to them?
I've talked to Steve Kerr or faux Steve Kerr, but I haven't spoken to faux Troy Murphy.
Alright, well done.
Mhm.
Okay, you know what? We should, oh god, I do have another topic. Do we wanna do this really quickly?
Sure.
Let's talk about Jimmy Butler's injury here. I know we're insane, so we're at the 52-minute mark here. It's me, I'm insane. Um, I don't know his injury status as of this recording, so it might come out tomorrow. I read an article saying that the the Warriors were optimistic, but it is very evident that this team is going absolutely nowhere without him. Like,
Yeah.
I am like I shouldn't be shocked because Jimmy Butler is so good, but that he has elevated them to
He's a perfect
such a
fit.
degree is like, uh, yeah, I mean, I'm a biased Warriors fan. I like the Warriors. They're kinda like my number like Steph Curry Warriors is like my number 2 team.
Mm.
I feel like I'm obviously rooting for him to come back, but it looked rough.
He was, and also, guess who started that off? Draymond Green shoving Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson's neck snaps under Jimmy, and then Jimmy falls and gets what, like a
Yeah, but it's like a
pelvic
freak
contusion.
yeah, a pelvic contusion.
Nothing is a freak accident when Draymond Green is in the vicinity. So
Alright, that's
anyway,
fair, that's fair.
I hope that Jimmy is one of my favorite players ever, 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 ever to watch. Um, like, imagine if the Heat had just respected him. The Heat could have been a very interesting team in this playoffs as well, right? but instead they want to
Mhm.
play around and do all the Pat Riley, kiss the ring bullshit, whatever. Anyway, but Jimmy is like a perfect fit in that defense and in that offense. He provides something that nobody else on that roster can. He gets into the teeth of the defense to create for Steph. He makes split cuts dangerous. He makes handoffs dangerous. He can work in the middle of the floor. He's just so good. And the Warriors are a team that like actually have a puncher's chance at a finals berth. I wouldn't give it a good chance, but they do. And Houston does not. I hope Jimmy comes back, and I hope we get a good series because Houston can still take games off of them if
Yeah.
Jimmy's there. But I would really love to see Jimmy there. He's one of
Yeah,
my
I
favorite
kinda
players,
thought
and the
this would
Warriors
be
are
like a
awesome.
Warriors in 7 series anyway, but without Jimmy, they don't have a chance.
No,
I mean, they just don't.
no, they can send everybody at Steph, and it's just
I was reading I closed it, I have too many tabs open. I was reading this article where I was trying to get, like, an injury status update, where and I couldn't tell if it was a real suggestion or not, but it referred to butt pads,
yeah, hex pads, I believe they're called.
hex pads, that maybe there's a world where he wears those pads, and then I immediately thought of Kyle Lowry and was like, "Has he been wearing pads this whole time?" Has Kyle Lowry been wearing butt pads this whole time, and that's why he can take all these charges? Could you imagine the reveal?
It's all natural.
Have you seen his butt?
I've not seen Kyle Lowry's butt. You keep wanting this to be ghosts of girlfriends past buckets and tea podcast. I've not seen Kyle Lowry's butt.
I
What are you
wasn't
doing?
expecting to ask you that, but I had to. It was right there.
I've not seen
How
his
do you
butt.
know? How do you know?
There are testimonies from around the league.
So you know other people who have seen his butt.
There are testimonies from around the league.
Well, I was saying it like, could you imagine? I wasn't actually suggesting it was real.
Okay.
He's actually wearing that. But I feel like you took it like I was being serious.
Okay, he's wearing pads. Oh, Lord.
Come on, that would be amazing though. I'd love him even more if that were true.
That would be crazy. Because
Wouldn't it?
especially, yeah, because he knows people talk about his ass, and he
Yeah.
knows it has been a thing. And if he just let it be like, it's my little secret, that would be crazy. And he never said anything. Like Tyler Hero literally had an interview where he was like, he said, because Kyle Lowry fell on him, and Tyler Hero got asked about it afterwards and said shit was like a pillow. Like you can't keep that secret for that long. It's been too much of a hot topic, you know? This is just
I was not expecting you to go through the logistics of keeping that a secret.
it's just too much.
Oh my god.
You can't you cannot keep that under wraps.
No, you're right. You're
Mhm.
right. Okay, let's go. Wait, I'm looking at the score again now. It's 99-91 Knicks. Okay. So let's move on to our Hottie Highlight of the week, shall we? I
Mhm.
think it's Hottie Highlight time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 kind of odd picks here. So we have one, Luka Doncic did an interview with Malika Andrews where he still uses his, like, broken phone. So basically when he found out he was getting traded, he, like,
Mhm.
threw his phone and it cracked, and he still uses his cracked phone and then used it as a way to talk about his emotions, of being traded. Okay, so that's 1. 2, we have Chris Boucher, who is a finalist for a prestigious humanitarian award. I wish I had the
The
name.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar
Thank you.
community award. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's number 2, and congrats to Chris. Or 3, we have Devin Booker stopping at a lemonade stand, in Arizona. I assume it's still in Phoenix. It's very desert. uh, chatting with some kids, and leaving them a very large tip.
I love when players do what Devin Booker did there too. It's what I would imagine I would try to do if I had to insane amounts of money, and also
Yeah.
people looked up to me as just like try to change a life. Because you basically have the capacity to change somebody's life, or at least make a big difference like every day.
Mhm.
And there's something to be said about like organizing through a foundation and that kind of stuff. But, we know a lot of wealthy people who just use that as a means to circumvent taxes and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And also, it can just be used as a means to sow influence in communities that you call upon favors later. Just rich people like Devin Booker showing up and like just dropping money places. That's one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things. I love that. But also, Luka keeping his phone is really good. I've had the same phone for like 5 years now.
Damn.
We do, and I'll get a new phone soon because it's actually on its last legs. But we do live in a world of like hyper consumption. And there's
Mhm.
also, like the term is like alienation, right? It's like we do less fixing of things now and more so just like get a new thing.
Yeah, 'cause it's
So
always like, "Oh, it costs so much to fix it, you
yeah,
might as well just replace it." Yeah.
and it alienates us from what's around us. We become dependent on, a supply chain instead of being able to like fix something that's in our immediate midst or something like that, right? Like those are important things to do that are actually a little bit more like forward thinking and green and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if Luca is thinking about it from that perspective, but I do like that he's still using his phone. And Chris, I mean, I like Chris a lot. I like talking to Chris. Chris
Yeah.
was always really kind. He was very conscientious, I thought, as a man, and just like hell yeah, they're all hot. Everyone's a hottie.
But you're not picking one?
I'm picking all three.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Westbrook, playing by your own
Yeah,
rules.
exactly.
There's
Batman.
there's something about there's something about the Devin Booker thing. Okay, first of all, I do love it. I do love him stopping at the lemonade stand, but there's something about this video if you watch it. First of all, there's somebody in the car filming him do it.
Mm.
So there's that part.
The B in Booker stands for Mr. Beast. A content. Oh.
Right? And then also too, it's like these kids are they've got their cute little table set
Hmm.
up and they're kids at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But then it's like behind them, it's just this like huge gate. And I'm like, are these kids rich?
Oh, it's outside a gated
There's
community.
there's like a
Oh.
fence, like a large fence, and then like a really long driveway behind them.
This is why I listen to Cathryn, the personality, because nobody is quite as discerning as you are. Because I didn't actually watch the video. You sent it to me,
Oh, come
and I saw.
on.
Oh, I
Watch it right now.
okay. I'll watch it right now. You have to provide background. You have to talk while this is happening, unless you want me to describe what's happening to the.
It's not very long.
Okay. Devin Booker stopped car to support kids lemonade stand in Arizona. I like that SEO talk. Not stopped his car, just stopped car.
Stop.
Stopped car. Okay. Here he is. Hey y'all. He's being filmed. Wait, I shouldn't do the audio.
It doesn't matter.
I guess he probably was like, I'm gonna do this. Start recording. Okay, that is a very large gate. These kids. Now, but here's the thing. I don't want to make that assumption. That is not like if that may be the case, but I don't want to make that assumption.
Look, what I can say is that even if they are like really rich kids, their parents are still trying to teach them a lesson about money. So it's not like the kids need the money per se, but they're trying to teach them like earning money and stuff. So I feel like the lemonade stand is still a good lesson for them and a good thing for the kids to do regardless. But come on. I mean, that's like it's wealthy. It's wealthy. That's a
I
wealthy
sold
person's gate.
iced tea as a kid. My friend Blair and I, we set up an
Oh,
iced tea stand.
no lemons in Saskatchewan?
Hardly. Hardly. So we mixed together iced tea and we'd wait
Is
outside
that
the
your
post
favorite
office.
tea? I never asked you your favorite tea.
Yeah, sure. Iced. Might as well be. I don't drink that much tea. I'll be honest. I drink water, a lot of water. I'm
Yeah.
constantly sucking back water.
Okay.
So anyway, we had this in front of the post office. We set up basically, and we would sell iced tea. And I remember I was thinking, because Blair's parents bought him more stuff than my parents bought me. And I remember Blair was thinking, like, I'm going to save this money. And I was thinking, like, I'm going to spend this money
Is this a
immediately on
childhood
something.
friend? Like, you're assuming we all know who Blair is.
Yeah, he's just a friend.
Okay.
Blair,
Just paint the picture.
I'm still friends with Blair.
Yes, good.
Blair
Shout out to Blair.
is blonde. He's from a family of blondes. Everyone in his family blonde. And actually somewhat tall. When I was doing
You sound
carpentry.
jealous.
No, I actually, when I had hair, I turned blonde in the summer because of the sun. Not that anybody will ever know anymore, but that's it. Okay, anyway. Okay. That's funny. So I don't even know what I was talking about. The Camerons. Oh, wait. Okay, so when I was doing carpentry in Saskatchewan before I moved to Toronto for this job that I'm currently working, Blair's dad was living in the house with me and my dad because Blair's dad was the principal of my elementary school and my high school. And Blair's dad was my dad's best friend. And Blair's dad, when he retired, they moved to the city away from the town. But he liked small town life. So he'd live with my dad and they'd do like carpentry together. They'd do like small town stuff together, all that kind of stuff. So when I moved back, my principal and one of my teachers was living in the house with me in Sturgis.
And how did that make you feel?
I really like Mr. Cameron. He's great. He's an important figure in my life.
Very wholesome of you.
Yeah, sure.
Wholesome folk.
Ain't that something? There you go.
Let's wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in. Appreciate you so much. I should always say this at the beginning, but like, subscribe, leave a positive review, all that good stuff. Let us know in the comments if you agree, disagree on these various playoff
who
series.
Is the bigger feminist, myself or Cathryn? I'd like to know what people think.
Sure, you can answer that too. And not that it's a competition. See, you're pinning us feminists against each other. You're not supposed to do that.
I'm doing nothing of the
sort. Wow. See, I caught him. He didn't know what to say. All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll catch you next time. Bye.